Hi all. Today we are going to see what are hooks in React, and we are also using hooks in the React Native in our mobile development. Uh, so hooks are the way to use the stateful function inside of a functional component. Like hooks provide us the liberty to make our functional component as a stateful. Like previously, only classes were stateful in the React, but hooks have given the liberty. We can make our functional components as a stateful. And previously we had the lifecycle methods in the classes like component did mount, component will update, and these are the lifecycle methods which were only present, which are only present in the classes. And now we can simulate the same functionality with the help of the hooks in our functional components as well. It is mainly used to handle the state and the side effects in React functional component. Side effects are kind of something that is not used to update the UI, means that is not updating the UI actually. So instead of something like making an API call and the other things, these are the side effects. So mainly hooks are used to handle the side effects, and hooks does not work inside the classes, as class is managing its own states. So hooks are designed in this way. They are using other hooks which are built on top of the functional components. So and classes also have have their own life cycle methods. So hooks can only be used inside the other functional components, not inside the classes. There are different type of hooks available in the React. The We are not covering all of the hooks but in this video, but these are the major hooks that we are going to cover and use widely inside the React or the React Native application. So the main hooks are the use state, use effect, use context, use ref, and there are many more hooks, and we will cover in the other videos. And at the end we are going to see how we can create our own custom hooks. So please stay tuned till the end. We are going to create our own hooks as well, which is very useful in terms of the reusable functionality. So let's get into the code. To demonstrate hooks, we have created this blank project. So this project has nothing, but we are displaying this hello app text on the screen. So the first hook that we are going to demonstrate is the use state hook, which is very important hook to manage the state of the component. So to start, let's define const counter, and we need to define with the initial value 0. So this counter is the variable, and this set counter is the function that is used to update this counter variable. And how we going to use this? So let's create another text component to display the counter value. So you see, now it is displaying with a 0. And now how we need to update this counter variable? So let's create a button and give some title to the button. Press me. This is displaying error because we didn't import this, so we imported. And now let's create a function to handle the on press, and on press is going to update the counter value. So as we mentioned, to update the counter, we need to call this function here. As this is just a single line, we can simply call set counter current counter value plus 1. So uh, here, if we see, when we click on this press me, we are updating the counter value by 1. And to so when we are calling this set counter, so it renders the entire component again. To check this, let's create one console statement here, component re-render here. So when we call this, press this, and here you see, on clicking this, every time the components get rendered. So when we click on this press me, this counter value is updating, and as we have applied the log statement here to check, this component is rendering every time whenever we are updating the counter value. So here is the console, our metro bundler. So when we click on this press me, you see component re-render is calling again and again. So this demonstrate the component is refreshing whenever we are updating the state, and this use state is persisting the state of the component. So the next hook we are going to see is the use effect hook, which is the very important hook that demonstrate and simulate the lifecycle event of the class function as well. So to see the use effect hook, let's define here use effect, and we need to pass the function here inside use effect. So this this body called initially whenever the function initially loads. So this example, let's see, let's print some statement console.log use effect body called. So this is called whenever our component initially loads. So and here we need to pass the array also. I'll tell you array in a minute. So let's rerun this, and if we re-render this, you will see every time whenever our component load, so this use effect body is called. See, I am doing reloading, I am pressing R and reloading our component. So this reloads our component, and every time our component load, so it is use effect body is called. So here this array is used whenever we need to call this use effect again on change of any variable. Example, like here we are updating our counter value. So if I pass counter again, so firstly let's see without passing the counter. So like here, if I am just pressing this, see only this component re-render function call, use effect is not calling again when we are rendering the component again and when we are increasing our counter value. So now in this array, let's pass this counter object, and now if we rerun, if we render this again, see now our use effect body is also calling. So if you want to call the use effect again on updation of any variable, then we can use this use effect and pass that specific variable over here, that on updation of that variable you wants to call this use effect. So this demonstrates the this, and this simulates the component did update behavior which we were doing in the class component, And on initially loading of the use effect is simulating the behavior of the component did mount lifecycle method. So these two lifecycle methods can be easily produced or the simulated in the functional components. So next, one more thing we can do with a use effect is the component did unmount behavior. So use case of the use effect, let's create one more component, or we can say let's create one more screen. Let's create folder screen, and inside this let's create home folder and create home.js as the file. So rnfe, so this is the shorthand for creating the functional component. So we have created this home component, and let's use this home component here. So if we see on our simulator, so this is our home component that is displaying here, and we want to show that component. And just take a use case, we want to hide this component when the counter value becomes 5. So let's write it here. If counter value is less than, if counter value is greater than, sorry, if counter value is less than 5, only then this component is visible, otherwise this component doesn't visible at all. And also create use effect here in a similar way that we did on our app.tsx screen. So this is, and let's write return. I'll show you what this return is doing here. So let's create console.log and write it down, cleaning the home screen. Okay, so now let's reload our app. So our home component is displaying here. So on 5, this component is hidden. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So our home component hide on 5, and you see this cleaning the home screen also called. So component did unmount is doing the same way, and we are using the use effect in a similar way like we were using the component did unmount. So this code cleaning the home screen is called, and you see how this use effect uses in this way also. And let's copy this return statement from here and put it in the use effect on the app.tsx screen, and see uh, and change this to cleaning the app tsx file. So as we have defined this cleaning the app tsx file in the use effect here, so whenever, so let's re-enter the component, and when I press this, you see every time when I press this press me button, the cleaning of the cleaning the app tsx file, this is calling every time. So this is before calling this use effect body called. So this is cleaning and then recalling the use effect body. So every time whenever I'm pressing this, our component refresh, and before refreshing it cleaning the component, cleaning like if you have anything that you wants to do, like you want to disconnect the connection and remove the listeners, so this you can do here in this use effect. So These are the very important use cases of the use effect. So now let's move to the another hook named use context to demonstrate the use context hook. So let's create one folder name context, and inside this creating one file context.js, and in this we need to import create context from React and create one context name login context, and we can do it create context, and we are just passing an empty object inside this. Now we will use this login context. So let's see how. And so here we have this one home screen, so let's create two more screens. So just example name profile, and inside the profile name profile.js, and create one more screen name login, and name it as login.js. Inside this rnfe, so this is our login component, and in the profile rnfe, this is our profile component. So now next go to this our app.tsx file, and so use these components here profile and login. Now import that context that we have created. So here we have created this login context, so use this here login context, and use this login context with a provider. So this is giving error, I guess we didn't exported it. So export default login context from here. Now let's use it here again, login context dot provider. So now it's coming, and let's keep this at the end to wrap our app.tsx component. So now this is giving an error as it is saying to pass some values. So we need to pass some values here, and we are passing we need to pass value. So here we have created this state named is login and set is login. So we are passing this state, this variable, and this function here as an value. So here we need to pass it as an object, so I guess that would be fine. So the main use of this use context is we can access these past values within the component, within the children components. So we are going to use this is login and set is login within the home profile and is log in the login screen. Let's see how. So let's create const, and named, we need to keep the name same whatever we are passing from here. So let's copy this and keep it here and use it with a use context. So this is our use context, so we can use these values here, and here we can do and we can update this set is login. As from the login module, we are usually updating whether the user is logged in or not. So to update the is login value, let's create one button here. Name, title, login here, and on press, on calling this on press function here. So we are calling this set is login to the opposite of if is login. So if the user is logged in, so we are making it logged out, and if the user is logged out, we are making it login. So this is just for the demonstration purpose. Let's do the same thing. uh, let's do update this home, and so here we have used this is login and set is login with a use context in a similar way. And in the profile, let's do the same thing, and we are doing so we need to import this use context also, and let's print text here. So instead of here, let's do it here. Let's check if user is logged in, then print user logged in, else say user not logged in. Okay, so if this login is true, then we are printing user is logged in, else we are saying user is not logged in. And let's do the same thing in the home. So here we have done the similar thing. So we are using the use context, and here after this, after the text, we are writing if the user is logged in. Yes, I am logged in. No, not logged in. So let's do the same thing in the profile, so to avoid any confusion. So yes, I'm logged in and I'm not logged in. So in this here, and in the app.tsx, so we have used all these components here. So let's look at the screen. It is saying context is undefined. We are getting this error. So on clearing the cache, it started working. So you will see now how this is working. Actually, here we have the button login here. So when we click this button, so the value in those components home and the profile is updating. Like we are not passing through as a prop, that is called prop drilling, but still we are getting the updated value in the home and the profile in the other component as well. So use context is mainly used to pass the props without drilling down the props. Means we are not actually passing the props here, but still we are getting these values in the children component. So this is what use context is. So now next, look at the use ref. So use ref hook is mainly used for accessing and manipulating the DOM elements directly. So let's use this use ref hook. So I guess we don't need this. Let's remove this, and even okay, we need one button counter. Let's remove this counter also, and we don't need this use effect. So this clears our code. Now let's create const for input ref and use ref and initialize it with a null. Now let's create one text input here. So firstly, let's check whether it is working fine. Yes. So now let's create one text input, and so give some style as it is not visible. Say border width and border color would be black. So now we see our text input, but it is very small. Let's give some height. Sorry, let's give some height, say 32, margin 16, and give some placeholder also. Enter your text here. So see, now this is our text input, and now give this reference would be the input ref. And now when we click on this button, say press me, we need to access this text input. Now we can access this input ref in this button click like this. Let's make it a function body, and if we have input ref dot current, then access input ref dot current dot focus. So whenever we are pressing the button, the focus should shift to this text input. So this is how we are accessing this text input in the button action with the help of the use ref. So like when we reload our function, so when we click on this press me, so you see the input focus is coming at the text input. So when we reload it, so focus goes, and when we press again, focus comes here. So this is how we can use ref. Now we will see how can we create our custom hooks. So to demonstrate that, we have cleared all the work that we have done from this app.tsx file, and you see now we can see the blank screen. So now let's create one use effect. So to demonstrate this, we are going to make an API call, and then we will make a custom hook so that we can shift all the code of making an API call to the hooks to make our code more reusable, right? So let's create and write code in this use effect. As a use effect, we need to define function here. So here write fetch. So for fetching the data, like here we have this JSON placeholder. This is the free API. If you just Google it out, the JSON placeholder, so you will get dummy this free API that provides the response. So we are just using it for demo. Then in this we are getting result. We are parsing it to the JSON result.json, and then from that JSON we need to update our data. So to update our data, let's create one state example data, set data, and use state with the initial value as an empty array. So here we are setting the data to the data. Now let's display that data. So let's add flat list here. Flat list accepts the data and render item. So in this render item, we need to get the item object, and then display it. Just an example, we are just showing it in the text tag. So we are displaying item dot title. So our data is displaying here. So this JSON placeholder has a title, so we are displaying the title here. So now let's create a custom hook so that we can use this code, so that anywhere, like we can use the hooks anywhere inside our project. So we can use this code, we do not need to write this code again and again, so we can simply use with the help of the hooks. So let's create one hooks object, and let's create one folder name hooks, and inside the hooks let's create use fetch.js. You can name it anything, but I'm using it use fetch as the name. So create one, we need to create component. So rnfce. So this is the class component rnfe. Here this is the React Native component. So here in this use fetch, let's copy paste this entire code from this our app file. So simply also copy this state, so we do not need this, so we replaced it, and here we are returning data like this, and we should accept the URL. So this code can be used with all different type of URL, and instead of hard coding this URL, so let's pass URL from to this fetch function. And here in app.js, let's use the hook like const data use fetch, and we need to pass the URL as an string here. So let's pass the same URL over here in this use fetch, and now we don't need this, we don't need this. So this is the same data that we are getting from the use fetch. And now let's see. So we are getting this error in the use fetch. So let's go to use fetch. So it is saying use state doesn't exist. We need to get use state from React. And now as we saved this, now it is saying use effect doesn't exist. Now this is working fine. We get all the data with the help of our custom hooks on this. We are getting the data from the use fetch with the help of the custom hooks, and then we are displaying this data over here. So this way, now this way we can implement our custom hooks, and now this can be used with any type of the URL anywhere inside your project. So guys, hope you learned something new today. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe and like to the channel. See you. Bye.